Hello and good morning. Welcome to the TriStar webinar series. This is Stever Schroeder. I'm a business development manager for TriStar out of Northern California. I've been with TriStar for about a year and a half, helping companies implement PLM and get the most value out of their PLM implementations. Prior to that, I was with PTC for over 20 years as an applications engineer. Today we're going to be talking about PTC's latest release of Windchill, Windchill 11, and what's new with Windchill 11. Windchill 11 was released in December and is available today to download from PTC.com. You'll notice that the theme of Windchill 11 is smart, connected, complete, and flexible PLM. By smart, what PTC is referring to is the ability to deliver role-based PLM data to targeted stakeholders at their point of need. So we'll show that during the demo on how specific information can be easily delivered to specific people within an organization. By connected, PTC is talking about the new ability to pull data from products in operation, leveraging PTC's IoT technology for fully closed-loop processes. By complete, PTC is talking about the ability for Windchill to define a multidimensional digital product definition all the way from requirements to service. And by flexible, PTC is referring to the ability to deploy Windchill now in a variety of different deployment options, including from the cloud, software as a service, or traditional on-premise implementations of Windchill. So let's take a look at what's new with Windchill 11. Now this is a 30-minute webinar, so I picked out a handful of some of the highlights in Windchill 11 to share with you today. By no means is this everything that's new within Windchill 11. This was a major release from PTC. So I would encourage you to learn more about Windchill 11 at PTC.com or by contacting us here at TriStar. Now the first highlight I'd like to share with you guys is the new addition of role-based apps to Windchill. PTC has developed a web portal called PTC Navigate and developed a series of role-based apps based on their ThingWorx technology. Now these are apps that sit really on top of Windchill, and the idea of these apps is to create a very simplified and task-based interface for users that are not regularly in the Windchill system. So for example, if you have people down on the manufacturing shop floor or procurement or other individuals in your organization that are not familiar with Windchill, they can log into this portal. You'll see 7 different apps in this Windchill 11 release, and within just a couple clicks they'll be able to get to information within the Windchill system. Now PTC is going to build on this functionality in future releases. There's going to be a few different categories of these apps. There's going to be the View apps, Contribute apps, and Author apps. At the Windchill 11 release, PTC is releasing, as you can see, the View apps, and I'll show you how these worked and lay over the top of Windchill to really allow access to Windchill data for everyone within your organization. The second highlight I'd like to share with you is the new search capability within Windchill, and this is really a great enhancement in Windchill 11. Traditionally, within Windchill had kind of a general search type of functionality, almost like a Google search, and it will present back to you, possibly a large number of results depending on your search criteria. If you didn't get what you want, or if there's too many search results, you'd have to kind of go back and adjust your search. Now with Windchill 11, PTC has incorporated a faceted search so that a user can actively filter down their search results based on common attributes or facets. You can see those facets shown in this image here on the left-hand side as a pane within your search results window. And so this might be, familiar to many people based on how Amazon.com or other e-commerce sites work, where you can select different categories, filter down results based on specific attributes. There's even little slider bars for numeric values, and I'll show you how that works. On top of that, PTC has combined their classification search along with their standard searching. In Windchill 10, these were 2 disparate search functions within the Windchill system. So now if you're using PartsLink to categorize your parts or classify your parts, you can combine those classification attributes along with your standard attributes into one search engine and combine those to get back your results. On top of that, there is a new ability to traverse links during your search, and I'll show you this in the demo. And what I mean by that is you could search for parts with a certain criteria, but maybe parts that have documents related to those objects with certain criteria, or open change orders, or things of that nature. So these links that are within the Windchill system between the different objects are now available for search criteria. And finally, on search, if you are still or desire to use the standard classification search function that's available with PartsLink, PTC has improved the tree and classification search within that function as well, and does include facets in that area. So search has dramatically improved in Windchill 11. It should reduce the time needed for searching and hopefully improve the reuse of existing data. The third highlight I'll share with you is improvements in the product structure browser for visualization. What you'll notice is a number of different Creo view functions are now available within the browser. The first enhancement that's there is these checkboxes that you'll see, and Creo View has these, but now again they're within the browser. And what these allow a user to do is very easily get to just the data they want to view within the visualization pane of the product structure browser. Further, you can set a preference within Windchill 11 to actually not load any visualization data at the start. And this is important for companies that are working with large data sets or large assemblies. Previously in Windchill 10.2, if you went into the structure browser and hit the visualization pane, it would start loading all the visualization data really by default and a bit out of the user's control. So now what you can do is set the preference to not load any data if desired, and then just select off, hit these checkboxes, either if you want the whole thing from the top or the specific subassemblies and components, using those checkmarks to get the exact visualization data that you're looking for. On top of that, you will see that PTC has added new functionality into the visualization toolbar. And what you're able to do now is change render modes. You can actually move components within, or explode components, if you will, within the visualization pane, as well as take measurements, so distance, diameters, angles, and summary measurements right within the browser. And another small point here is if you want to hide the visualization tab entirely for some users in your organization, you can do that as well. So lots of nice functionality that's been brought into this visualization tab on the structure browser to help users investigate and explore their data. The fourth highlight I'd like to share with you guys today is this capability for flexible links within the change management process in Windchill. Windchill, obviously, as you may know, has a variety of change objects, problem reports, change requests, change notices, and change tasks. And at Windchill 10.2, PTC has out of the box implemented a process to work within these objects. With Windchill 11, what PTC has done is added more flexibility in this area so that an administrator of your Windchill system can build custom links between these different objects. So rather than going through the entire change management process as PTC's defined it, you could develop subtypes. So for example, I could create a block change request as a type within my Windchill system, and then I could develop a flexible link to say that these could go to multiple change requests, or I could go from a problem report straight to a change task. These are very easy to build. It provides a lot of flexibility in how companies can configure their change management processes, and by doing that, it can reduce the complexity of workflows and reduce customizations within the Windchill system that provides for easier maintenance and upgrades of their system. I won't be showing you this live, but I do think this is a great new set of functionality to model business processes within your organization, so I'd encourage you to find out more about this at ptc.com or again by contacting TriStar. The fifth highlight that I'll share with you is new capabilities in Windchill to manage Creo 3 data. As you may know, Creo 3 introduced a couple new technologies to it at its release, specifically the Creo Unite technology and the Design Exploration extension. As you may know, the Creo Unite technology allows users to read in non-native Creo data, so SolidWorks UG and other CAD data, and work with that within a Creo assembly as if it was native data. With Windchill 11, PTC has expanded the support for Creo Unite technology within Windchill, allowing for easier management of that non-native CAD data and use of that data within the Creo environment. Secondly, for the Creo Design Exploration extension, PTC has now introduced the capability to manage those Creo design exploration sessions as objects within the Windchill system, such that they are now under lifecycle and iteration control, and will as well maintain references back to the original Creo assemblies. So this is great new technology for companies to explore design possibilities or design ideas by branching off of standard assemblies. Now Windchill 11 can manage those branches, if you will, and it eliminates the need or the requirement for companies to do save as's on assemblies to develop new design concepts. Finally on this, there's a lot of kind of subtle, if you will, enhancements to the user processes within Creo when working with Windchill. One that I noticed and really liked was the ability to promote during check-in. This was a common request that I used to hear from companies that I visited, where a designer would reach a certain point in their design, they'd want to check in the objects, and then if they wanted to promote those to send them through a release process or some other process, it would be a large amount of mouse clicks to check that in and then go over into the the browser and find those objects and start a new promotion process and go into the collector. So now what you can do is actually automatically launch a new promotion request form directly upon check-in, and all those models that you are checking in are automatically added to that promotion process. So just with a couple clicks, you can now check in and promote, which is really nice. The sixth highlight that I'll bring to your attention today is the new Performance Advisor within Windchill. And Windchill is again leveraging PTC is again leveraging its ThingWorx technology within Windchill. And the idea behind this Performance Advisor is really to turn Windchill into a thing, if you will. So as you know, there's a number of logs that are written. There has been some performance monitors that have been created on Windchill as well, like diagnostics and those types of things. So there's a number of sensors, if you will, on the Windchill systems that are already in place. Now the idea with the Performance Advisor is now to collect that data and present that data to administrators or users into the form of a dashboard to make that much more usable, readable, and easy to identify if there's issues that are occurring within your Windchill system. Now this is exciting in and of itself. I think it'll provide administrators a nice tool to kind of monitor their Windchill system. But where PTC is going with this is to have proactive support. And what they mean by this, and of course it would be with a company's permission, but they would be able to connect their Performance Advisor with the PTC tech support system and knowledge base. And by doing so, a company's Performance Advisor could identify a problem up front with performance and really in the background search a knowledge base or be linked to a knowledge base to identify if there's a resolution to that issue. So for example, if a user was suddenly for some reason experiencing a performance problem on a select statement in a table in Windchill, maybe it's taking a long time, the Performance Advisor, could recognize that is becoming a performance issue and really interactively search the knowledge base. And if there's a resolution to that, which in this example there might be a resolution to re-index or create a new index on the database, it could send that information off to the company's Windchill administrator, and the administrator, without even knowing it, without possibly even the user really knowing he has a problem yet, the administrator could be alerted to the issue and be presented with a resolution before that problem started to kind of creep out into other users and become a larger issue within the organization. So this is a great set of tools that PTC is working on, and an infrastructure they're working on to ensure that companies' Windchill systems are running at the best they can be. So with that, let's move over into the live demonstration, and I'll start showing you a bit of Windchill 11 and focus on these highlights. So the first one that we're going to look at are these role-based apps. With the role-based apps, again, PTC has developed this portal called PTC Navigate. And as I mentioned earlier, they're very designed to be very easy to use apps for people that don't traditionally use Windchill. So you can see there's 7 apps here, very easy to see. I can see an app for viewing documents, drawings, and other items within my Windchill system, and this would be a live query into the Windchill system. So if I wanted to view a document, you'll see a very simple search bar that comes up with a document number. I can pull down recent searches here, as well as documents that I have recently searched for will show up in this pane as well. And just with one click, I could click on the document. Windchill would then fire up the appropriate application, in this case Microsoft Word, and present the user with that particular document. So clearly that was just a couple picks, and just like that, I'm presented with the document in the Windchill system. Let's take a look at another one of these. So if we looked at a drawing, this is a very common request that we at TriStar get with companies, is I want to put out a monitor on my shop floor. None of the guys on my shop floor really use Windchill very often. They just want to be able to quickly find a part number, a drawing for a part number, and bring it up into Creo view such that they could view it obviously, but perhaps even do their own measurements and things of that nature. So now with this, we can, again, same type of UI with just a simple one single search bar here for entering in a part number, and then again just with a single click. Now with the drawing, we're right into Creo view with the drawing presented to us, and we could go into the Creo view functions. So very quick and easy there. The final one I'll show you is the ability to do a part structure, and I think this is probably the nicest one out there in my opinion, but we could say view part structure here. Again, same UI with the simple search here. I've got a couple recent searches here. I'm going to pull up this wheel assembly, and what you'll notice here is that we get the part details, we get a thumbnail, we get the full Creo view 3D visualization data down here on the left-hand side. Now this is configurable. You can set up what types of attributes you'd like in the table as well as in the part details right here. If I select on a particular node in the part structure, you'll notice the thumbnail changes, the part details changes, and as you might expect, the subassembly that I've selected on has been highlighted into the 3D assembly. So very quick and easy for really somebody that's not been trained to go in, hit a couple clicks, find a part, find a drawing, find a document, and pull that up under their session to be able to quickly see it. So that's an introduction to some of the role-based apps here. Next, let's take a look at Windchill Search. So let's go into Windchill 11. With Windchill 11, you will see just a slightly changed colors scheme. The general UI is very similar, so hopefully not a lot of retraining for your users. You can update this and get going. And now with search, what we're going to look at first is some of the faceted search capabilities. So for example here, I performed a search for actually with a classification note for flat washers and some criteria here about washer thickness and diameters here. So let's run this search. And what you'll see is that 51 parts have been presented back to me. Obviously I could kind of scroll through these and look for them, but what's really nice here is this new faceted search capability. With that, what we can do is go into any of these common attributes or parameters, really called facets, that are common across these 51 objects, and start filtering these down. So for example, for washer thickness, I have this range that was reported back to me. You'll notice I just said less than 1/8 of an inch, and it's presented back that right? Anyways, it presented back that range to me, and then I can go in and drag this bar and hit apply, and what will happen is it'll bring up this little filter icon, and now we're filtered down to 30 objects rather than 51. So a user could quickly go in and use these different facets and controls to filter down this search criteria. If you have kind of standard attribute values, you'd be presented with checkboxes. So if I wanted to do regular washers and now still have that washer thickness functionality in there, you can see that I'm now down to 9 objects that was there. So that's really nice. Now something else that PTC's added in their search is the ability to get keyword previews in the search results. So in this example, what you'll see is that we're searching for documents with the keyword of instructions. And when we do that search, what you'll see now is there's a text preview column that is coming up. And by the way, one other thing that got added in 11 is dynamic columns in these tables. So if you search for an attribute like color, that color will actually automatically be added as a column in your search results so that you can see those actual colors that you're searching on, which is nice. Anyways, back to the text preview. This is, again, a new column here. And what the text preview allows you to do is to actually see within that index document where that keyword text was. So little quick preview there to see where that text preview was, and you can identify why that was added into your index. Next, let's take a look at the related object search here. Now what you'll see here is we've got a couple standard criteria here with some name and a view and some other search criteria, but what is new here is this related object criteria. And within this particular search that we just ran, we said, hey, search for parts that have been described by a document with perhaps a lifecycle state or a subtype of report. So any links that you might have, related documents, as subtypes, even change objects, the key here is that there's now a capability to search in your search criteria to put in related objects as part of that criteria. So now if I look at one of these objects that are in my search criteria, you'll see that these documents are there, and that's why only these 2 parts showed up in my search criteria. It's due to, again, those related objects that are there. Finally, with search, we could look at the new classification searching. That's still there, even though the standard searching has been combined and you have the ability to search with classification attributes that I hinted at earlier. You could still go in and you have the graphical search for classification search, the graphical node, but you also have the classification tree over here, and on top of that you also have in the classification search the faceted search capabilities within these search results as well. So a lot of powerful new search capabilities that are there within Windchill 11. Next, let's look at the product structure browser. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of new enhancements for the visualization capabilities in the structure browser. So let's pull up a product structure. The first thing you'll see with Windchill 11 here is that I'd set up my Windchill system, and again, this is a preference, to not load any visualization data when I come into the visualization tab. So, very quickly I'll be able to come into this environment, and I wouldn't have to wait for the loading of the visualization data. I can begin working. Now, if I wanted to, I could click on the top level and it will load my visualization data. That behavior would be very similar to what your 10.2 system behaves like. Now from here, if I wanted to, I could unselect certain components just by using these checkboxes. You can see there's a little bit different icons there, a checkbox or a box here, if you will, for subassemblies. I could use my Shift key or Control key, so if I wanted to Control select a few different components, turn those off, or use my Shift key and grab a series of components, I could do that as well. And very quickly I could get to the components or subassemblies that I want to bring into my visualization pane in this particular environment. Beyond that, you'll see some new capabilities, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint, for the visualization toolbar, moving components, measuring components, changing the rendering mode. So a lot of different functionality here, which this is really nice. I mean, obviously this is functionality that's available on Creo view, But again, I don't have to load the Creo View software onto my machine. I could be within a browser on a mobile device, and I still get, these viewing functions, exploding functions, and others right within this environment. Finally, one other note I'll make in this is you'll see some differences in behavior with the show and hide functions within the product structure browser. And you can actually set up within some preferences, either at the user, product, or org level, a couple different levels of what kind of the default document types and other things that you'd want to show as default information within the browser. And you can actually set it up to very quickly show those different types of objects that are linked to a Windchill part, rather than just kind of one blanket statement for all documents or other components or other objects, I'm sorry, that are there. So those are some of the improvements in the product structure browser. So finally, in the next couple minutes, let's talk a little bit about the improvements of the management of Creo design exploration data within Windchill. So right now we're looking at Creo 3. I can come into my session and start a design exploration session. And if you haven't looked at the Creo design exploration session before, I would encourage you to go take a look at this. What you'll notice is that you can set up different checkpoints and really branches in your design to go investigate a series of design concepts. Prior to the design exploration extension, people tried to do this by, as I mentioned earlier, doing save as, or perhaps overbuilding an assembly and using simplified reps. Now, with the design exploration session, you can set up these checkpoints within kind of one session here, look at different design concepts, in this example for the wheel, maybe different options for the tire. You can also go in and track changes between these. So this is the change manager that you might be familiar with within Creo 3. But the advantage here that I would mention is that now with Windchill 11, if I look in my workspace, what you'll see is that these design exploration extensions are now objects that are being saved within the Windchill system. So then now I can identify those as new. They're going to go under version and iteration changes, and I can check those in. One other note I'll make right here, and again, this goes back to some of the kind of, as I mentioned, subtle enhancements of usability of Windchill 11 with the Creo softwares. You'll see these stars over here as a column. And this has to do with the featured object list. If you haven't used featured object lists in 10.2, they are available. It's a way to filter down objects within your workspace. And now with Windchill 11, they're enabling the ability to see what objects are actually featured and what are not. So if I turn on that feature object list filtering, I can see what is going to be there, and I think I can tag some of these as being featured if I wanted to, so I have a little bit more control of that. One other point I'll make is that PTC has done some performance improvements, actually a couple rather dramatic performance improvements for working with large workspaces. So if you're a company that works with objects of, maybe 5,000 objects within your workspace, you will see performance improvements with Windchill 11 working with those large workspaces. But for now, what I was mentioning here is that these design exploration extension functions, again, are objects that can be tracked within the Windchill system directly. So of course we could check those in, and you'll see they'll go into the Windchill common space and allow people then to access these and collaborate on them as desired, of course tracking the iterations as well. So with that, we are at the end of our 30 minutes. I know that was quick. There are, as I mentioned, a lot of enhancements to Windchill 11. I tried to pick out some of my favorites, but there's, you can dive a lot deeper into functionality for BOM transformations. You'll see that MPM link has now moved to a full HTML. They started this in 10.2, by the way, but the product structure browser to go from EBOM to MBOM transformations. A lot of advances in change management. I picked one with those flexible links. Other enhancements to configuration management and others. So I would encourage you to continue your investigation of Windchill 11. You can go to ptc.com to to find out more information or contact TriStar directly. I think at this point I could open it up for some questions. If people want to stay on and ask a couple questions, you can type them into the chat and I could see those. Or I think if you raise your hand, I might be able to find a question there. So let's go to the questions pane. There are a couple questions that came in here. One question came in about mobile. For mobile, what do you support? Android, iOS, Windows Surface. So there's a couple different levels of mobile support. First, I would mention that certainly you can go through a browser on any of those mobile devices to get into Windchill and interact through a browser on your mobile system, and certainly Windchill does support Safari for iOS and other browsers as well. Windchill does have a mobile app for visualization, which is supported on iOS, that you can download, and that's really the viewing app and some other apps on top of Windchill. I don't know what the status is on Android. It's Android support, so I will perhaps be able to take that as offline and find out more information for you on that. Another question came in about connected quality. We might be able to look at connected quality here a bit. But what connected quality is really about is the ability to go in and build up a really a monitor, if you will, a way to grab, using the ThingWorx platform, a way to monitor information for products that you have in the field. And by monitoring those, you can actually have the connected quality function file various reports within the Windchill system. So I'm not an expert on ThingWorx, so I didn't go into this too deep on this webinar. But if you wanted to find out more information on this, we could certainly find out more information for you. But the connected quality is really all about really PTC's Internet of Things initiatives and being able to collect big data from machines or products in the field and use that to drive change or other processes within the Windchill system. The next question was about refining results. It was how much work needs to be done up front. Really, the answer is no work. If you're just using the standard functionality, I believe those attributes that you use on the search criteria will automatically go in as facets. Now, if you're a parts link customer and you set up classification of components within your Windchill system, those are, as you might know, you can set up kind of a taxonomy or a hierarchy of attributes that if you drop a part on a particular node in the classification tree. So for example, if I say I have bolts, I have NAS bolts, I have hex head bolts, and these other kind of hierarchical classification schemas, I can drop a part on there and it will add these classification nodes to the part. It's kind of an overlay. You're not really adding them into the part model itself. So it's a way to categorize parts. That's been there forever. Now with Windchill 11, they've combined the standard search with the classification search. So if you're not using PartsLink today, you can set up classification. But to make use of the faceted search, you do not need classification on your parts. It's just a way to further filter your search criteria and a kind of a UI to do that on top of that. There's a question about when will you start supporting Windchill installations. I'm assuming you're talking about TriStar consultants being able to support Windchill 11 installations, and that's kind of in process right now. Our consultants have been trained on Windchill 11 or are coming up to speed on doing the installations. PTC has again worked at making it easier to move from the current Windchill releases 10.2 for example to 11. So we will be ready to support customers that want to move to Windchill 11 really very shortly. You could contact TriStar and we could get somebody scheduled. Right now PTC is shipping F000, the first maintenance build of Windchill 11. Well, the first production build, I guess I should say. The first maintenance build will be released in June. So, we'd expect companies to start now to be looking at when they want to upgrade to Windchill 11, and we'll be ready to support that in short order. There's a question about, is visualization supported in Chrome and Firefox? And I'm assuming you're talking about the product structure browser, and the answer to that is yes, it is. The supported versions of Chrome, Firefox, and other browsers are available at ptc.com, and you can investigate that. There was a question next about when is Windchill 11 going to be available. The answer is it's available right now. I just checked the web page. If you are on maintenance from PTC for your Windchill products, you could go download Windchill 11 today. There was a question about whether these role-based apps are TriStar generated or PTC. The ones I showed today are PTC generated apps. They are available for purchase through subscription. The pricing is, to be frank, quite low. It's very inexpensive to enable those or install and purchase those role-based apps in your organization. Some people might be asking this question because actually TriStar, we had built some apps that were very similar to those role-based apps. One we had called Flexible Light Search. Those are really apps that are aimed at the same kind of functions, if you will. And if you're interested, we could certainly explore some of the differences in pricing and purchasing models of the apps that TriStar has available versus these new PTC role-based apps. There's a question about parts classification as a separate PTC tool, and the answer to that is yes. It is part of the parts link functionality that you can purchase with from PTC or from TriStar. A couple more questions here. There was a question about when you talk about improvement with speed in large workspaces. Somebody said that I have to wait about 5 minutes for workspaces to update. I'd have to look. I was just looking at the stats for performance before this webinar, in fact, and what it looked like to me is they're moving some processes to the background. So there's a couple new preferences you can set on your server for how the workspace kind of behaves with the common space, and there's a number of attributes that get checked, if you will. There are non-iteration based attributes that really, from a user standpoint, that really need to be checked. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference in the user environment. And for Windchill 11, they've enabled the ability to move those checks to the background and onto the server so that the end user with a large workspace won't kind of experience a lag to that. And from a table I looked at this morning, I haven't done a lot of testing yet, but it looked like you can get up to about a 20% improvement on performance, which is big. So if you're interested, please contact TriStar and we can look into that further for you. A question about what does M10 mean? That is PTC's terminology for maintenance releases. So M stands for maintenance, and then they number their maintenance releases by tens. So you'll see M10, M20, M30, and so on. So the PTC for Windchill 11 is going to continue their model of having maintenance releases, so M10 and M30, as well as critical patch sets, or CPSs as they call them. These critical patch sets are meant to really be bug or other problem fixes within the Windchill system. So the idea is that an administrator or a company can install these critical patch sets with basically no testing to their Windchill environment, and take advantage of any fixes to the software without requiring perhaps a test upgrade or something like that. If you're going to a maintenance build, typically what TriStar and PTC recommends is to kind of run a test upgrade away from your production system, make sure everything goes all right, and then apply it to your production system. The idea, again, with the critical patch set is that you shouldn't have to go through that. You can just run that directly on the production servers. When will you start supporting Windchill 11 installations? So that will be coming very, very soon. If you're interested in TriStar installing Windchill 11, please contact your TriStar sales representative or a BDM like myself, and we can organize that and schedule that with our consulting organization. The question was, are the PTC apps running entirely locally with the customer Windchill implementation, or are they using ThingWorx coupling with a PTC web resource to run? They are running with your local Windchill implementation. So they're running on the machine, on the local client machines themselves, and interacting with the with the company's particular Windchill implementation. The final question was, is this PowerPoint available? And yes, I can work with our marketing director, Becca, to make this available for download. So with that, I think we've reached the end of the questions. We've run just a little bit over. I appreciate everybody's time this morning for staying on and being introduced to Windchill 11. Again, please continue to explore the enhancements in Windchill 11 at ptc.com or contact TriStar directly. And I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for your time and have a great day.